Anything we say or do.
So you're having a bad hair today, Rick, or what's
No,
going on?
my hair is actually I'm having a pretty good hair day actually.
Well, I sure couldn't tell by looking.
You can even see. How do you know? Let's not focus on my hair. Let's focus on the World of Troon Directory. It just came out, and it's just packed with. You weren't interested in it 5 minutes ago, though. You said yawn.
Oh, I did.
Unacceptable. We are back for another episode of the Friday Foursome, and today, before we even got started, got really exciting, but we'll get to that in a minute. And not because Jason's not here, because Jason's not here, and Elizabeth Bethel has joined us. She's come in from the bullpen. It's been a while since you've been on, Elizabeth. Welcome.
It has been. I'm glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
And I feel a little bad you don't have a signature, so I think what you've inspired me to do is to have one created that says not Jason Boslow, so that when Jason is not here, whoever fills in for him is not Jason Boslow. So we got Les Bailey from Pro NFL now, I think, because you don't write about golf anymore, you write about football. I'm a little disappointed in your lack of interest in the golf game since you started writing for the NFL, just so you know.
It's been more of a lack of time.
Well, either one. And today's guest is in Florida, and, well, which one is our guest? We're going to get to that in a second, because Cathy Schmidt is a teaching professional who I've known. I don't even know when we met. We met many, many years ago. And it's funny that when you joined the Hangout today, it said Sarah Dixon, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's Sarah doing there? Well, Sarah is there. So, Sarah, say hello.
Hi.
And you're not allowed to leave and go hit balls like you just said you were going to do. So you got to stick around for the next half an hour, because this is going to be fun, because this gives you an insight into when you come back and you're a guest on the Friday Foursome of what to expect. But you're not the guest today, but we are going to talk to you and ask you a few questions, especially because your teaching professional is sitting right next to you, Cathy Schmidt. Cathy, welcome to the Friday Foursome.
Thanks, Ricky. Nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. I am pumped to learn more about you and what you're doing, and it was kind of funny because you're sitting out on the range, and like right before we got started, somebody came over and was like trying to get lessons. Like, I mean, you're just all over the place. I love it. But take a couple of minutes. Tell us who you are, where you're based, what you do, and what makes Cathy Schmidt and the Golf Boot Camp what it is today.
Well, I'm based out of Tampa, Florida, just south of Tampa. I'm on the south end of Tampa Bay, so you can feel the wind that we get, which is wonderful. We're the coolest place in Manatee County of Florida in the summertime because of the deep waters in Tampa Bay and how it cools here. The course that I'm at is Terracea Bay Golf Course, and I run my own business here. It's the Golf Boot Camp. I started the Golf Boot Camp in 1994 with Chuck Evans up in Seattle, Washington. Chuck stayed with the first camp, and I built the second one down in Monterey, California in 1996. And then I built my third one here in Florida 2008.
He's in Arizona, isn't he?
Right.
Yeah, I thought he was in AZ.
When we broke off, I kept the business going. He kept the same type of business running in Seattle.
Very cool. Well, so I'm not familiar with the course that you're at, and I did a little bit of research on it. But tell me more about the golf club. I'm not familiar with that area at all.
We're real close to Sarasota. The golf course that I'm at is surrounded by water. It's a par 62. It's a full-fledged practice facility. It's awesome for the retirees down here to play because they don't need all the distance. But it's extremely challenging because the greens are small and they're all surrounded by water. So it's a great course to learn to score on.
I was going to say, it sounds like a place that would be a good place to not only for retired folks like Les, wink, wink, but for growing the game initiatives.
Thanks, Ricky.
And since I'm poking fun at Les for being retired, I'm going to let him ask his first question.
Welcome, Cathy. You're not very far from where the Valspar is being played, right?
No, I'm not. I'm about 40 minutes. I just gave 4 tickets out to a student. I had a little kind of radio contest myself with an e-blast this morning saying, good morning to all my golfers. You've got an opportunity to have a win-win situation. The 10th caller is going to get 4 tickets to Valspar, and everybody else that calls has an opportunity to get an hour from me and brush up on their mid-season game for 50% off.
Wow.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
Well,
how many people called?
Pardon?
How many people called?
Not enough.
At least somebody got tickets.
Well, I think that they all shied away because they wanted Valspar, but I did get from our professional friends compliments on the creativity of the ad. So I hope it works somehow.
well, I'll go ahead and finish my question. And it says, the name says it all with being a boot camp, but how did you come up with the name?
Back when I was playing, I worked with a pro who put me through what literally was like a boot camp, and from that point on, I decided that it was probably the best thing to do. And he had me in structured with weighted clubs and on playing boards and learning to map those positions in my brain. I wasn't allowed to hit a golf ball full swing shot for the first 3 months that I was there.
Wow.
But a lot of my time was spent on the short game. I became deadly, 300 putts a day in a row consecutive, or you had to start over.
Oh,
no.
I can make 5 in a row.
Chip in 100 consecutive, or else you had to start over and then hit 25, 50, and 75 5-gallon flower pots 25 times, not consecutive, but I said I'll never make it out on tour, but, you know.
I guess not.
That is pretty intense.
No,
that's
a little bit. I started, the day before the sun rose in the gym and finished the day about midnight in the gym as well. So that was my introduction to what golf boot camp is all about. And I've been told I'm tough. Like at least the pro shop here says she's good, but she's tough. And my student prior to Sarah, he calls me a meritet. Is that right? It's a military term that says you're really tough.
So are you the drill instructor?
Yeah. Well, I got that comment. I said a month ago you weren't ready for it, and I said I'm going to do this with you again this month. And I said you can either get it now or you can wait another month. It's your pocket, not mine.
So before we go to Elizabeth for her first question, talking about your students, and I want to get a testimonial because you have a student sitting right next to you. So I'm not going to put Sarah on the spot. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Sarah, what is it like working with Cathy?
Well, when I'm listening to Cathy and everyone else who says she's really tough, she must lay off when she gives me lessons, because she's tough in terms of making sure that you understand and you're doing the right thing, and she's not going to let you get away with anything, which is exactly what any caliber student needs, no matter what level they're at. And so, for instance, today we were comparing my swings from just about 3 years ago now to today, and you would not recognize the two sides of the screen. And that doesn't come person. Yeah, you think they're different people. You really will. Ricky, I'll send you a snapshot or something.
Yeah, please do. I'd like to see that.
Totally, yeah. And so, no matter what caliber the student is, Cathy picks out the priority, and if the first time around when she explains it, if it's not clicking for me, she gives me a number of different cues so that no matter what I feel best on a given day, I'm still working on that same priority. And I tell you what, it's changed how I teach, and it's definitely changed my golf swing for the better. So I tell her every day, thank you for
Congratulations.
She must go home with headaches after me, but she's not
at all. Not at all.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Elizabeth, I know that you're not Jason Boslow, and Jason, wherever you are, I hope you're watching, because I don't know where you are. You just emailed me last night and said that you couldn't join today, so I'm actually okay with that, though, because Elizabeth is fun, and she's always willing to come in from the dugout. So, Elizabeth, I know you've got a bunch of good questions. Let's get it started.
I really want to talk a little bit, or I want Cathy to talk a little bit about the teaching challenges and how they differ between, say, working with older people such as Les and myself.
Hey.
Hey, she put herself in there. I was kind of gonna laugh, but she was just like older people like Les.
Yeah.
And younger people like Ricky. I mean, what are the challenges of getting Les and me to swing the golf club properly? Can you talk about that?
Well, it's really not an age factor.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, when we get to a point where our joints aren't working properly, we've got to see what our limitations are, for age. But you know, uh, golf is a sport of extension, and how do you get there? And golf is a sport of alignment. How do you stay connected? And golf is a counterintuitive sport. And so those three things alone, the counterintuition, the extension versus the bent, and I forget what I just said, but
I do that all the time. It's an age thing. I missed my computer this morning. I found out my 14-year-old gave me Alzheimer's.
All right, well, let me follow that with something.
Yeah.
So what I hear you saying then is that when you get somebody, say, 70 or even 75 who wants to get better, that there's still hope of getting better?
Oh, yeah. I get phone calls from all over the country. I'm 76 years old. I'm 78 years old. And I've been studying this game forever. And what you said and taught me on YouTube has enhanced my game tremendously. I want to come down and work with you. So, my YouTube station is pretty strong for my business. And flex them everywhere.
So you teach golf, but you also play golf, and you spent some time on the Futures Tour. Tell me a little bit more about that and what it was like being on tour and what you learned from your years on the Futures Tour.
Let's start out with how I got there. I was a pro windsurfer over in Maui, Hawaii. I was one of the first authorized instructors for Windsurfer International and built a business over in Kaanapali Beach. Teaching and renting out surfboards. And with Kaanapali Golf Course there, once I had all of my concessions up and running, I started playing golf. And I took a lot of power with no talent and decided if I was going to switch careers, which I did, it had to be effective. So in 1 year's time, I'd run into a gentleman that had played with Hogan and Snead, and he needed me as much as I needed him. And we worked really hard. In 1 year's time, from not being able to break 100 to shooting subpar rounds, that was my ticket or my freedom to go and test the waters. And I did, and I played on the Futures Tour for 4 years, and the first year was the best because I didn't have any bad experience, and the last year I couldn't take it any longer. I didn't have the mental game, and I didn't know that I was afraid. I didn't know that what stress was all about and what it did to my game until years later when I had enough time behind golf that I could recognize it and understand it. And I wanted to move back to Hawaii. I still had a house there, and I couldn't afford to play golf as an amateur, so I had to become a pro. So I joined the LPGA TNCP division and got my Class A. But in the process of getting the Class A is when teaching is a gift to me, and I was successful here on the mainland, so I had to stay.
That is awesome. What a cool story.
Right.
And the fact that do you go to Hawaii often, though? Do you go back often? Because I love visiting.
I took my daughter there in 2013. That was the last time I was back there, just to show her where Mom had done some growing up. And all my old surf buddies were there. And we had dinner one night, and now they're picking on the new hot bod.
Well, it's funny.
Like, God, this is my daughter. And unfortunately, my daughter knew how to stick up for herself. She starts to. So
I'm a huge craft beer fan, and Maui Brewing Company on Maui is just an awesome brewing company, and the guy that owns that is he's not a friend, but he's an acquaintance of mine on the Twitter world, and that's not my favorite island, but an island that I will eventually frequent, I think, because of the craft beer more than anything. So.
when I was over there, Lanai was just as postage stamp of a small town up on top to help the workers with the cane fields and the pineapples. And Turtle Beach was there, but now Lanai's an awesome place.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Les, I know you got a question about not being
Ricky,
retired. You already covered all that.
I'm surprised you said you were a beer fan. I thought you was going to say you were a hot bod fan. I mean, that's what I would have said.
I didn't even think that, and now I want beer.
I come from guys my age to my daughter, and you're obviously there.
I had a chance to browse your website a little bit, and I noticed that the 3 straight days of golf kind of interested me. What's that all about, and do I have to do push-ups?
Right.
This is a boot camp, Les.
Workout. I go ahead and I get your DNA swing when you first get here recorded before I open my mouth, and then from there we start to build in a stroke that will be repetitive for you. By the end of the first day, you have your new tools for your full swing. We then go immediately into short game to ingrain some of those tools, not according to Dave Keithman right now.
so
That is always lagging the hand.
So you can make over my swing in 3 days, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
I send everybody home with a video, personalized video of everything that they did at the school.
Wow.
So they have their own manual. So once they get home, if there was some downtime for any reason, they can just plug right back into their video manual and put the wheels back on themselves.
Get
I'm
right
not in
back
the
on it,
business to keep people coming back. I'm in the business to teach them how to fix themselves. I can't play golf with everybody. They need to be free.
Now, wait a minute. You don't want people coming back. Sarah's been coming back for 3 years, she said. Now, why do you keep coming back, Sarah?
Sarah's brain mapping was real strong.
And I don't get the privilege of seeing Cathy in the summer because I go up north. So we do our best with video, texting back and forth. But when I'm here in the winter, I make every effort to get as much knowledge out of Cathy as possible. And I'll come. I'm like, Cathy, I've got questions. She goes, okay, good, bring them, and I do.
That's awesome. Elizabeth, I know you got questions. What's your next?
I do. Cathy, what's your favorite shot to teach, and what's your favorite shot to execute?
Ooh, good one.
Well, the shot that I'll teach most is the punch, because the punch shot is basically full swing lacking the finish. And once I can get the students to control the shaft, control the head, and control the sweet spot I'm playing, at that point I said, just go ahead and put your signature on your finish. Ball's long gone.
Yeah.
What's my favorite shot to hit?
Yeah.
Well, the one that I continue to produce is a push draw. So I guess that would be it. Though I like to hit them all. I was hitting flop shots for Sarah today, and lobs to cut lobs to flops to, and who doesn't like the driver? I love the driver.
Yeah.
Might be that and the 56-degree wedge are the 2 favorite clubs in my bag. Because if I'm 75 yards and in, well, I'm using the 56-degree wedge. I know I'm not supposed to do that, but I'm comfortable with that club.
Yeah, that sounds like my game at this age. I only carry 2 wedges.
So, what is the golfing machine?
That study of its entirety on the golf swing. It was way ahead of its time, and it still is right in tune with everything that's being said today as far as technology. No, I don't think of the book, but D-Plane came out, and then they changed the ball flight laws, and it kind of messed everybody up. Homer had that correct in Chapter 2. when he said golf ball always leaves about 80% to club face, and then falls away from path. So, you know, if Homer was around today, he'd probably be eating up and writing more editions of the golfing machine. He wrote 6, and then there's 7 left right now that had a compilation of all of the things that he had wrote that he had put into his next book. But I don't know if he was trying and publishing the 7th at that time. I was up in 1993 with Sally Kelly, his wife, trying to help him promote the book. And I had the privilege of being able to go through Homer's archives and workspace and read all of every single book that he wrote and produced, or expanded on it. And then what is the golf machine? The golf machine was, I was trying to teach him. I felt like I was selling snake oil. And I couldn't do that. My conscience wouldn't let me. And we didn't have computers back then. And so I drove to whatever pro would accept me to be a fly on the wall for the day and learn. And I was getting things that I liked. I was getting things that I didn't like, but I was still feeling like I was selling snake oil. And so I saw an advertisement about learn in 2 hours more about the golf swing than you have in 20 years. And I thought, well, I got to give this a shot. And the pro was Bill Skelly, and he had bought Lynn Blake's golf school. And when Bill got up on stage and started to speak, it was like the maestro was there, and he took all of the different pieces of the orchestra, and he just pulled them all together in the concert. And that concert was the information that I was looking for, so that I really felt confident about what I was giving to students. It's a blueprint for the golf swing, and a blueprint for me to be able to teach a reliable source. And so I worked for Bill and Skelly, and then years later, Lynn came back on the scene, and I was all over everything that Lynn put on the internet. And then finally, I had an opportunity to meet him, and I needed to cash an LPGA check, and I needed the crystal. My daughter was bragging about me, and I didn't deserve it. I told Lynn, I said, we've got 6 weeks before I've got a tournament. We can do this. And he said, come on up to Tuscaloosa. So I did. And 6 weeks later, I handed my daughter on Mother's Day crystal. I kept the check. So, and that's all due to golfing machines. So, any specific questions about the golfing machine?
No, I don't think so.
Well,
Les might. Jeez, go ahead, Les.
Ringworld from greenskeeper.org, who, by the way, is our sponsor, wanted to know, his question had to do with the golfing machine. And he says, how do you tailor the body type to the golf swing?
How do you tailor the body type to what?
To the golf swing.
You know, you basically, you can study the person. There isn't a proven way to decide whether a person is a swinger or a hitter, okay? But in general terms, somebody that's very bulky, very broad across the chest, long thighs, that would be a hitter. And somebody that's narrow and lanky, like Tiger used to be, would be a swinger. Since then, Homer said that you're floating with fire if you mix the components up from swinger to hitter. But Andy Plummer and Mike Bennett did an awesome job producing a full barrel swing.
All right.
I didn't know that he had asked that question, but it makes sense that Ringworld did ask that. I'm glad that Greenskeeper came up, because I always forget to mention it, because I always have questions from Greenskeeper, and I didn't today.
Homer's suggestion in the book was that you start everybody out as a hitter. Right arm thrust is the power source.
Right.
and then from there, once you have people with clubs in all three stations, then move on to the swinging component. And at that point, decide for yourself or the pro will.
Right.
So I told you this half an hour is going to fly by, and we've only got a couple minutes left, so I'm going to let Elizabeth ask one more question before we get to the back nine, which is Jason's favorite part. So, not Jason Boslow, what is your next question?
All right, Cathy. Where do you want to go from here? Where do you see yourself going from this point in your career, say in 5 years and 10 years?
You know, I'm a kind of mom and pop school with great successes. I've had pros come in and work for me in years past, and I've had the comments of I wanted to be one of the first self-boot camp authorized instructors. I'd really like to grow the business, and I'd like to be specifically all schools. But, so that would be the direction that I'd like to head in if things work out my way.
That kind of stole one of my questions, Elizabeth, from the back nine, so you're done with questions.
Okay, I'll shut up now.
Les, you've got one more that I tried to tee you up to answer, or to ask, and you didn't, so ask it now as your final question.
I saw that, but I was...
I know, you were ignoring me.
No, while she had the golfing machine going, I was going to get that. Are men welcome at your school?
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Great.
Well, the demographics for this school are the demographics for golf everywhere. It's 70-30, men to women, and then throw in some juniors in there too. And I don't care who I'm working with. There isn't an issue in the golf swing that I can't fix. And I love it every day. You know, it's everybody seems to do the same thing in varying degrees, but everybody's so unique. Figuring out the solution for them is really fun and rewarding. But the biggest gift that I've got is that with each student, they come with energy, and that energy is just fuel for a lifetime.
All right.
Awesome. Last question. Elizabeth, thank you for stepping in out of the dugout. Now, before we let you go, we've got 9 questions that are a part of what we call the back 9. And originally, I was going to ask you all 9 of them, but one of them I'm going to ask Sarah because she didn't leave and go hit balls, so she must have not have been bored. So I need to reward her with the ability to answer one of the questions. So 9 rapid-fire questions. Are you ready for the back 9?
What do we win?
Oh, nothing. No one's ever asked that. I don't know how to respond to that. I have no idea.
A free golf lesson.
Yeah. All right, here we go. What is your favorite LPGA Tour event?
Oh, God. The CME, probably.
What golf ball are you currently playing?
Titleist.
Who is your favorite PGA Tour player?
Michelle Wee.
You should have said PGA, but you said LPGA.
Yeah, sorry, I was on the... Okay. My favorite PGA player?
Yeah, say Tiger. Just say Tiger.
Oh, God, I had such high hopes for him in 1996. I really thought he was going to be Mr. 54, you know, and nobody's done it, and I thought he had it. And so I've always thought the world of him, and I hope he comes back and plays the Masters great.
Yeah, I do too.
Who am I attracted to the most? Who would...
That's not one of the questions, but it could be.
I'll keep that to myself.
All right. Have you ever had an ace?
Ready.
I'm going to see him next week. Have you ever had an ace?
Yeah.
She says that so matter-of-factly. Yeah, of course I've had an ace.
I've had a couple.
Who is your favorite Symetra Tour player? And by say favorite in terms of who do you think is going to be the next big thing on the LPGA Tour that's currently doing something well on the Symetra Tour?
Good question. When I went out to qualify for the Symetra Tour, which I did in 2011 for the 2012 season, one of the gals out there, it's MIA Young, I think, Young. And that same year she qualified for ride for the LPGA. So there's a personal connection with her. And then after, I'd like to see Tiger's do very well.
Yeah, I'd like to see her do well too. What is your favorite golf course? And you're not allowed to say the one that you work at.
All right.
They would appreciate it knowing that that's the answer, though.
Last summer I did schools over in Ireland, and you know, I love Ballybunion.
That's a good. Now, Sarah, this question's for you. In 140 characters or less, explain what it's like working with Cathy.
Ooh.
I can do it in one if you want.
No, 140. It's a tweet.
Working with Cathy is inspiring.
I like it. That fits. That's a tweet. I'd retweet that. Okay, now we talked about Tiger, and Les knows that we can't get away without asking this question. Speaking of Tiger, do you think he breaks Jack's record?
Did what?
Do you think Tiger breaks the record?
I'm rooting for Roy to be the Grand Slam this year. That's my priority. And, you know, it just depends on, God, with James Dixon's short game book out there, or Paul Runyon's short game, I think that Tiger could have a chance if he'd apply himself to it.
Good answer. Good answer.
And your final question of your Friday Foursome is, what's next for Cathy Schmidt?
Dinner.
Wait a minute, it's only 1 o'clock. It can't be time for dinner. I love it. Elizabeth, thank you again for joining us. Les, thanks for joining us again. Hopefully Jason will be back next week, but if he's not, Elizabeth, you're coming back. Cathy, thank you for coming in. Sarah, thanks for hanging out for a half an hour. And as Matt Rush always says, make less bogeys.